that's getting to when you say know when to leave, that's one of the first steps of your dream storming. This is another word you've coined. I'd not heard this word before you. Tell us about dream storming.
Yeah, so Dreamstorming came about. This was in 2019. I was at a summit about developing a research agenda for campus sexual violence, and they brought a whole bunch of people together. And so we were saying, like, what are the kind of the top 5 things that we think, should push this work forward. Um, and I got overwhelmed because I kept just being like, but you stop the sexual violence here, but then you have to stop like the discrimination that happens, like women faculty of color like get paid less. That's on the same continuum of like what makes violence okay. Then you have to like educate the administrators. Then people aren't born at universities. Then you have to go like to their families, right? Like to the communities. And it was just like it was too much. And so I realized that I was trying to like brainstorm within the corrupt world and somehow find solutions. And as opposed to what I came to call dreamstorming of like envisioning a free world and a peaceful world, and then saying, like, what would that even feel like? Like, what would it mean if I could walk down the street and know for sure I wasn't going to be sexually harassed? Like, if I went into a classroom and knew for sure none of my male students were going to sexually harass me, like, what would that mean? How would I teach? How would I walk? How would I live? And then reverse engineer backwards to say, okay, how do we get to then what needs to happen now to get us to that place? Um, and so what I saw, so what's not dream storming is like, what do we do in the meantime? So for sexist violence, what we do is we tell women to restrict their freedoms. So women just like cross your legs, but don't be a tease, but do sleep with someone, but don't be a slut, of course. Do cover your drink, go to the bathroom in pairs. When you go on a date, tell your friends where you're going. So that is just furthering intersectional inequality, but we're saying we'll promise though the violence will stop.
Mm,
Turns out the violence doesn't stop actually, since women and everyone can't stop rape. That's kind of the whole point. Rape happens when you don't want it to. And so if we're furthering inequality with the hopes of stopping violence, it actually isn't effective. And intersectional oppression needs violence to function and vice versa. And so if we said like, oh, what if it weren't okay for anyone to rape anyone at any time? Men, that means that you can't. Women, you can't either. Um, you can't rape boys. You can't sexually abuse people, trans women of color, heaven help you, also can't do that either. Like, what if we started there? Wouldn't that be a straighter shoot to where we wanted to go? And if we imagined a world then that was perfectly equal and perfectly peaceful and then went backwards, we wouldn't do, in my opinion, um, the harmful doublespeak of you're raped. We tell you it's totally not your fault, but in the future, change everything about your behavior.
mhm,
That's crazy making.
mhm, mhm,
And it furthers inequality and furthers restricting freedoms. And that hits certain of us more than others of us, because certain of us are more likely to be raped than others of us.
mhm, mhm,
So for me, dreamstorming was a way to get out of the present world and out of like the restrictions of what we think is possible and into like a different intellectual and emotional place to really think about like what world do we actually want to be in. And let's like have our efforts be in line with that world as opposed to this world, which none of us want anymore, right?
right.
So then why are
Yes.
we working in this world?
Yeah, we've had it. And what's interesting about that is that your that provocative title of your, is the Academy a dream killer? As you know, the way the dreams you work with the term dream, and so it's dream storming in terms of sexual violence, but also in terms of what it means to be like a Black woman in the academy, knowing when to let go, right?
Mhm.
Just say no to arrogance and pettiness, enter humbly and collaboratively.